All right, let's start this series. With Soumya will be our presenter today. I'll hand the mic to you, Soumya.
Hello everyone. Welcome. Today we'll be doing Tkinter. So Tkinter is a graphical user interface package. Today's agenda would be a slight intro to what graphical user interfaces are, a little about what Tkinter is, and a couple of its widgets and functions. We'll take a small Q&A session, and then we'll jump right into hands-on coding. So the first thing we should probably get a little familiar with what graphical user interfaces are. So a graphical user interface is basically a way that you communicate with your operating system or your computer without having to type in your instructions. So if you're familiar, there's a lot you can do with just typing in instructions in your command prompt. There's also an operating system, one of the first ones where there's no user interface at all. It's just a command prompt, basically DOS. So you just type in instructions, but graphical user interfaces allow you to easily communicate with the backend system with the interface, basically. So it has a bunch of entry boxes, it has buttons, it has graphical icons to eliminate the work of the human. So all you have to do is just interact with the system through the interface. So as you can see here, if you're familiar with the run dialog box on your computers, if you ever want to open a particular program or folder or document, all you have to do is type its name here. Type its name in the entry box and try to browse for it in your system. So if this was so this allows you to easily browse through your entire computer for a particular file instead of exploring everything yourself manually. So Tkinter, it's one of the packages that Python offers to us. So it's one of the most standard GUI packages of Python. It's cross-platform, it's stable, reliable, and it's super easy to learn. Some people say Tkinter, some people say Kinter. It's up to you. I'll be using Tkinter. So Tkinter, it gives us a variety of tools and elements such as buttons, menus, labels, entry boxes, and we can use all of these to build an interface that will help us interact with the computer applications or operating system. So Tkinter, just like any other standard library module, you would just have to import the package. There's no separate installation needed if you already have Python installed on your system. So the basic syntax would be to import Tkinter, and the general convention is to use the alias tk. So as would be how you alias it. So import Tkinter as tk. So in order to use Tkinter's GUI tools to create the interface, you need to create an instance of the Tkinter frame. So creating an instance is the object-oriented programming kind of thing where you have to create the instance of the class tk, and then you can use all of its modules and functions, its methods and variables. So using tk, what creating an instance of tk would help us do is to display the window and manages all the application components in the Tkinter interface. So there are a couple of few important methods. So we'll just go through them a little quickly, and everything will make sense when we do the hands-on coding. So we have main loop, and it's an infinite loop that's used to run the application. So what we would have to do is add main loop to our code, and it will make sure that the window is displayed until we want to close it. We also have titles, so it sets the title of the window. We have geometry. We can resize our Tkinter window. We have pack, grid, and place to modify where an element would go in the window, and destroy would help us destroy all the elements of the window. So Tkinter widgets. So Tkinter widgets are basically the building blocks of the program. What they do is display information or get input from the user. So a few examples are buttons, labels, entry boxes. These are all types of widgets, basically. So a couple of widgets are frame. So you in your GUI window, you can have multiple frames and embed other elements in it. So you can say, I want a frame as a header. So, and it's fixed to the top of the screen. You can have buttons and labels inside of that frame. So a frame is used to contain other widgets. We have label, so it's used to display text or images. We have buttons. This is the basic button. We have a check button and a radio button as well. We have entry, which is a single line text entry box, and it can be edited. We also have text, so it allows multiple lines of text. We have combo box, which is a drop-down box. It also gives us canvas that allows us to draw different figures. And we also have message, which is a pop-up box with a particular message. So it can be a question, it can be a warning, it can be an error, it can be an information box. So these are a couple of basic widgets that we use. So a small visual of what widgets would look like. So we have this TK button. So the do something would be the button. And as you see the text here, tk.button, that would be a label. So it's used, labels are used to display text. So tk.button, commands, these are all labels that we create. You can also see that if you look closely, each of these is contained in a box. That would be a frame. So the person created a frame to be fixed at the top left of the window, and another frame at the top right, and another at the top bottom right, and then bottom left. So these are different frames that contain different widgets. This is the first one is a text entry box. And there's a text box and an entry box. We have a scale. We also have list boxes, combo boxes, and multiple different types of buttons. So before we move on to live coding, if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them before we move on to the live coding. Okay, awesome. Looks like everyone's good. I hope you guys have Python installed on your systems, because unfortunately we can't do Tkinter on Colab. So we will have to do them in our local machines. But you don't need an editor or anything. If you just have Python installed, that's enough. I'll just quickly stop sharing for a second and reshare my screen. All right, so Karen, it's visible, right?
Yes.
Okay, so everyone on your machines, you can look up IDLE. It's a built-in Python. Okay, there's one question. I'll get to that just a second. Meanwhile, everyone, make sure you open the IDLE window or the IDLE editor on your system. If there's anyone that's not able to do this, let us know, we'll help you out. So there's a question that says, is it possible to make widgets respond to events? So if I'm not wrong, if there are different ways to manipulate things on the screen. If that's what you mean, yes, you can. So buttons respond the same way. So buttons, when you click a button, you can make a function run that can change elements in the screen. Mostly it's with buttons. So if you get a button click, and if you write a function for that particular button to do tasks to change widgets around, you can definitely make it a dynamic interface, basically. Okay, so if everyone has got the editor open, we'll get started. Okay, I'm gonna have to make this. I'm just gonna find a way to make the text larger so you guys can see. Okay, so you guys can see my screen, right? And everything's okay, everyone's set up. We'll get started. Okay, awesome. So the first thing we have to do is import Tkinter. So for that, the syntax would be import Tkinter as tk. So this would be the first line that we have to use in order to import Tkinter into our code. And right after that, like I mentioned, we have to create the instance of the tk class. So what we would do is we would create a variable called root, and we'll say tk.tk. So now we have Tkinter ready to use. What we would have to do is let's start with creating a label, basically. And we'll try to display some text on the screen. So before that, one small thing I would like to mention is whenever you're trying to start out with a Tkinter program or a Tkinter code, make sure that you have this. You have imported Tkinter as tk. You created an instance of tk, the tk class. And one other main aspect is root.main loop. These three are important, and everything after that is all right. So if you don't have root.main loop, then the window would never open. So what root.main loop tells us is to infinitely keep the window open. So once we have these three elements in our code, we can go ahead and create whatever we would like. So first, let's try making a label. So label. So we'll just name it label for now. So we'll say tk.label. So this is how we create a label. And inside the label method, we would have to first mention where we would like to display it. So we want to display it in the root window. So we would say call it root, and then we just have to add the text we would like to display. So let's display woman who code. Woman who code Python. Okay. So you guys can display whichever text you would like. You can have your own name as well, or hello world would work too. So once we have our label created, we have to place the label somewhere on the window. So we have created a label that we want to use, but we have to first place it in the window in order for us to be able to see it. So there are three different ways of having it on our window. We can either use place, we can either use grid, or we can use pack. So pack is the easiest way to get things onto the screen. So for now, we'll use label.pack. And once that's done, we just have to save it. So I'll save it on my desktop as WWCode Tkinter. So once I have it saved, I'll run it. Okay. So I hope you guys have all of this in your code till now, and then we can go ahead and run it. And when we run it, you can see that a tiny window appeared here, and it displays Women Who Code. All right, awesome. So now we have some text on our screen. Now let's move a step further. So so we have everything on one line. Let's try to make it in two different lines. And this time, let's use another way of arranging things on the screen. We'll use grid, okay? And we'll call this name. And we'll call the other one network. Okay. So network is tk.label root, comma, text equal to Python. And name.grid. So grid is a little different from pack. So in grid, we have to mention, so a grid is basically like the grid we're usually familiar with. It has a row and it has a column. So we'll have to mention this to specify where we want it on the screen. So it's basically like how you would see a 2D matrix. So row 0 would mean the first row, and column equal to 0 would be the first column. And we can say that we want the network to be in the second row and in the first column of the second row. So column equal to 0. So we can go ahead and save this. And when we run that, okay. I did name.grid, sorry. Network.grid. Yeah. So network.grid would be the second row and the first column of that. And you can see that it came in 2 different rows now. So that's how we would use grid. You would also see pack doing the same function as well. So what pack does is it puts things on the screen with respect to the other widgets. So it tries to pack things into the screen. With grid, you have more liberty to mention where things can go. So let's get back to our window. And now, as you guys can see, it's kind of really clumsy where the window is and its size. I mean, we can do a resize like this, but it just doesn't work out so well. So what we want to do is we want to specify some dimensions to our window. So if we want to do that, we have to do root.geometry, and we can have our window look bigger, because we shouldn't have to keep expanding the box and then moving it around the screen. So what we'll do is we'll do 200 into 200. So it's 200x 200. And when you do this, you see that the window looks bigger now. Yep. looks bigger, but it's still to the corner of it. So let's try to make it come over here somewhere. We can try to move it around on our screen by changing the code. So what we can do then is we'll do plus 400. So we'll move it 400 to the right and maybe 300 down. So if we do this, okay, save. Where is it? Looks like I didn't close this one. Okay, just a sec. Looks like it's not overlapping over my screen, but this is where it's coming, basically, the window. Wonder why it's doing that. Anyways, I hope it was visible. And okay, there we go. So we moved it a little bit closer to where we are. So we don't have to keep going to the corner and checking it out. We have it over here now. So that's how you would normally specify the dimensions of your box, of your window, sorry. Yep. So the next thing we would do, we want to try out is entry boxes. So now we know how to have labels on our screen, but it would be cool if we can also take text. So instead of just having some input, it would be cool if we can have some output. So I'm just going to make the box a little bigger and tell it to come a little more to the right. You can do this if you would like. So let's create an entry box. So instead of network being a label, let's make it entry box. And for entry box, this would suffice. So entry, and we mentioned where we want the entry box to be. And then because grid, when we enlarged it, when we made the window bigger, it kind of looked ugly because the text was all in one corner. So let's just use pack for now. We'll also be able to see how pack would work on a larger window. So let's do pack, run module. Okay. So now we have it over here. So what pack did is it puts things, it packs things in with respect to everything around it. So we have women who code, and this is, we can say Python. And this is editable, so you can do as you wish. You can have a keyboard smash. You can say data science. You can say blockchain. So you can add whichever text you would like. And maybe you could do this too. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. You can also get the text from the back end and apply it to your code as well. And that's what we'll try to do. So, and then in that way, we would also try to explore how buttons would work. So till now, is everyone okay? So what we did was we tried, we created the instance of the Tkinter class. We tried out how to resize our windows so that we don't have to expand it and move it around every time. We displayed some text, and now we also have a way to get the text, take inputs. So we'll move on. We'll try something else now. So yeah, let's all at the same time, let's also try the other method that we can use to place stuff on the screen, and that's basically place. So we saw that pack would pack things into the window with respect to other widgets. Grid would have a rows and columns specification. What place is, and it's my favorite because you have full control. It has an X and Y. So basically, think of your window as the coordinate axis. So you can mention anything. You can mention where you want it to be exactly down to the point. So let's do X equal to 150 because let's try to make it at the center. So X equal to 150, we'll do Y just a little bit at the top. So y is equal to 20. And place also has another optional parameter called anchor. So, and what it does is it puts this text in the center of the 150th point. So if we're at 150, it tries to center it along that point. And then we also have the entry box, right? So we'll do network.place. And this one we'll place it at around 100. And, oh, sorry, x equal to 100. Y is equal to, let's do 100 too. Okay, so we'll place it a little to a little bit around the bottom of the screen, a little bit there. And okay, we'll also have anchor because otherwise it'll look a little weird. So anchor equal to center. Okay, so what we just made sure, we just are trying to use another way of layout management. So we have the X, Y, and center. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make a box, a button, sorry. Why do I keep saying box? So what we're going to do is we have the entry box, right? And I mentioned that that helps us take input from the users. So what if we took the entry, we took the network from the users and placed it right under WWCode? That would be pretty helpful, right? Instead of having the entry box over there and stuff, we can have it into our screen. So what we're going to do is we'll create a button called add network button, and we'll do tk.button. And the first parameter is almost always where you want to place it. So it will be the root. And then it also has a text parameter. So what we'll do is add network. And then it has another parameter that tells it to do something, basically. So after you click the button, you want it to do some particular function, right? So what we're going to do is we'll add the function name here. So for now, we'll just keep it empty. After we create the function, we can add its name there. We'll come back to that. And then we'll have to place the add network button on the screen. So equal, oh, sorry, add network button dot place. So for this add network dot place, we'll place it somewhere between WWCode and the entry box. So, oh, no, we'll have it below the entry box, sorry. So we'll have it on the same line as the entry box. So it would be the input box, and then right next to it, we would have the button. So X will do it at around 150. Y would be at the same point. And then again, anchor is equal to center. Okay, so we have the add button, we have the button and where it is. Let's try running it, okay? So let's just see what it looks like for now. Okay. Okay, let me just do something for a second just so we can run it. What? Okay. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. Okay, let's just take command out for a second and make sure that we remember to add it later on. Okay, so let's see how this would look. And I have a feeling that button would overlap our entry box because X is a little too close to the box, to the entry box. So let's see. So, yep. So as we can see, we have the entry box here and we have the add network button, and it allows us to click on it, but it doesn't do anything right now because we didn't add up any function to it. So let's go ahead and do that. So and also, like I mentioned, it was a little too close. So let's move it 100 steps to the right. Okay, so we'll bring command back and we'll call the function add network. And then we'll add the method somewhere up here. So def add network. Okay, so what we would have to do is we have to first get the text from the entry box. Okay, so what we would do is we would do network. We have to get it from this. So what we would do is network name would be the variable, and we do network dot get. And this would fetch the text that's in the entry box. And after that, we can create a label now. So we can say network label is equal to tk.label. And we'll do root. And then we'll say the text would be the network name. So the whatever is saved in the variable would get displayed there. And where we would want to place it, just like how we had women who code in Python in 2 different lines, we'll try to place it like that. So we'll do network label dot place, and x would be the same, so x would be equal to 150, and y would be a little lower than woman who codes label. So it was 20 here. Let's make it 40 and see how that would look. And then we will just have anchor equal to center, so that it's centered on the page. Okay, so this should work. I hope you guys are still following me. So I'll just wait 1 second so you guys could also type along, and we'll run the function together. So we created the label, and then we are placing it at the same level of, the same x coordinate as the woman who code label, and then we're also putting y to be a little below that. So okay, let's run it now. And as you can see, we can add a name. So let's say I want to add Python, and there we go. So you might want to add another name as well, just to see if it would work. And if you do data science, yes, it would work. But if you do Python right after that again, you would see what's happening. So you can see that data science is still there. So what it's doing is it's creating a new label every time at the same point. So when that happens, it's just overlapping because data science is a longer word than Python. So you can tell, but suppose it was another keyboard smash. Now everything would look like it disappeared, but it's just that this is bigger than the thing that was there before it. Okay, so I hope everyone's with me so far, and I hope you're having fun. Tkinter is my favorite. If you have any questions, do let me know. Nada, in your question, label is spelled wrong. Maybe that's, if you're asking me if you had a error with that, maybe that's why. It's label. I think you missed the L at the end. Okay, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Okay, so one more thing, we might get this kind of question. So we're using place, over here, can we also have pack in place on the window? And the answer for that would be no. If we're using root and we have pack in place together, that would be a little hard. Let's try it out for a second though. So let's say pack. And it does work out, but I mean, you can have it, but it's all over the place. So what pack would do is it puts things with respect to other widgets, and then place is having it in a particular point. So it does work, but it's a little weird. We could have done that with Women Who Code, but it's often better to have the same layout managements. Okay, so one of the questions that was there was, yeah, no, so one of the questions was, must we run Tkinter on ideally, and would it not work on Jupyter? And yeah, that is true. I mean, I tried it on Colab and it wasn't working out because it works a little different in Colab and stuff. I mean, there's a line by line running, and there's some problem with the back end of that. So it doesn't support it. But anywhere on your computer, you don't just need ideally, but anywhere with any code editor in your command prompt as well, you could do that. So I hope you can see that I'm opening my command prompt. Suppose I move on to my desktop. And the name of this program was wwc.tkinter.py. So I can run it from here as well. So wwc tkinter.py, and it would do the same thing. So it just doesn't work with Jupyter Notebook and Colab, but it's not only contained to Tkinter. I mean, ideally. Can you clear the previous label before adding the new one? Yes, we can do that. I will show you how we could do that. So, let's see. Let me just see if this would work. Yeah, okay. All right, so we have this function called destroy. And what it does is it destroys any widget that's on the screen that it's bound to. So I try to destroy the label name, and what it does is it destroys it, moves it from the window. So what we could do is we can clear it this way. So suppose every time this add network is called, we try to destroy the previous network label that was created. So in that case, what we would have to do is we would do network label dot destroy, right? So the thing is, the first time that we call this, they would throw an error because the next network label wasn't created at that point. So what we could do is we could just say that we could create a okay, we could just say that we have network label equal to label. Okay, and then we could say network label dot destroy, and then we can go on doing our we can't do that either because the second time that we call it would be a problem. So what we could do is we could create another button, and we could call the button clear. And what that would do is it will clear the previous, it will create the previous name. So what we could do is clear button. Let's say clear button, and then its text would be clear and its command would be network label dot destroy. And this would have to be in a Lambda function. So we would have to say Lambda network label dot destroy. And now the thing why we have to add a Lambda is, let's try without it first. If it doesn't, then we'll check it out. And we would also have to move this. So let's move this a little bit to the bottom. And let's run our code now. So as we can see, it wasn't created at the time. So we got a name error. And that's why that's why we couldn't see this button on the screen, because it threw an error. That network label wasn't in existence. So let's say Lambda network label dot destroy. And let's see, we have Python, we're adding Python. We'll clear destroy it. Says network label. Definitely because it wasn't a global variable. Was the name different? Huh. Well then, we could definitely add a while loop here, or we could add the button in there, perhaps. But I highly doubt that it would work. And okay, it worked. Yay. Okay, so let's try it out then. Science. And we're adding the network. Let's see. Let's try adding Python on top of that. It looks ugly. Let's clear it. And as you can see, the data science label that was there before got overridden by the new Python label that we created. So that's why we can no longer remove this, because the network label was renamed to Python, and we could have cleared Python, but we can't do data science again. So let's try one last time, and I'll explain what's going on and what the problem we faced was. So first, data science worked. We can clear it. We can use Python. We can add it. We can clear it. We can do mobile. We can add it. We can clear it. Okay, now let's dive into what's happening here. So the main problem was that clear button was referencing network label, but its scope was only in the add network function. So when we call the button, what when we clicked on the add network button, it moved into this function, and we're still here. So, and this button is also in this function. So they're all in the same scope. So normally, this probably looks like a trial and error kind of thing, but if you were ever to do it in a production or something like that, what we would do is we would have a class for our so a class for our entire code. So our entire window would be a template basically, and you can reference variables throughout the class in different functions. You can have class variables. So what we could do is you can call network name in a particular function, and you can have another function here. And over there, you can call network label again. Because they're all in the same class, they belong to the same template. So in that case, that's how you could work around that. But over here, because when we went back out there to the button, we were out of the scope. Network label was only working in this function. I tried making it global, but I'm not sure why that wasn't working out. It's probably because the label for it was created in this function. So yeah, that's how we would do that. Okay, so that was how we could basically create the labels, the entries, and buttons. So let's do a fun activity. Let's try to create something fun, basically. So let me just, okay. If you have any other questions, do let me know. I'll answer them in the meantime. If any of you have been there from the first session, you're probably familiar, but we did a game called the Lucky Game. So what we did in that game was we created a dictionary. We created a dictionary with numbers, and we had a dictionary with colors. And what the dictionary did was it mapped the numbers to colors, numbers to numbers and colors to colors. And we asked the users to guess a particular number. And if it was in the dictionary, they win, basically, they won the game. So we're gonna try to make a user interface for that particular game. So let's clear our screen and let's try to do that. So if you guys remember, we'll start from the top again. So what we would do is the first thing we would have to do is create root, and that would be tk.tk. And after that, we have root.geometry, just so that you have a big, nice window. So we'll make it 400 by 400, and we'll place it around 800 points to the right, 200 points down. And after that, we will create a label. So let's start with creating the woman who code, a label just for that. Or you could call it, you could put your name up as well. So we'll do root, and we'll do text equal to woman who code. And we'll place the label on the screen. So we'll do label.pack. And then root.main loop is also a must. So we're back to where we started earlier on. We just created a simple label. It was supposed to be label.pack. Okay, there we go. So we have this window. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start adding more elements into our code. So we have our main label. Let's add another one. So in the previous game, so if you are not familiar with it, we did it in our first session, sys and OS. You can check that one out, but it's okay. There's no prerequisite for this. We'll just create another entry box that asks for the name. So we'll say welcome, or we could just call it name. So name is equal to tk.label, root comma text equal to what is your name. And we'll also place this on the screen. So now that there are more things coming in, I don't trust Pack to do what I want. So let's go back to using complete control of the screen. So we'll place the woman who code at 200, comma, we'll place y at 10, and we'll do anchor is equal to center. Okay, so 200 because that's half of the width of the screen, so that means it will be right at the center. And then name is name.place. We'll place this a little to the left. So we'll do like x is equal to 100, or we'll do 120. And y would be a little lower, so we'll do around 50. And then anchor equal to center. Okay, so we also have a label for what is your name, and we'll have to create an entry box to go along with that. So it would be the what is your name, and the box right next to it would be the entry box where the person can type in their name. So we'll just say name entry, or you could just say entry, tk.entry, and root. So name entry.place. X would be a little more to the right, so we'll do around 250. And y would be the same because we want them both on the same line. And anchor is equal to center. Okay, I hope you guys are with me so far. Let's just take a quick look at like what it looks like. There we go. So we have women who call, we have what is your name, and we can have our names here. Okay, so far so good. I hope you guys are with me. Hope it's not going too fast. So the next part would be, so in the game, like I mentioned, the person can either guess a number or they can guess a color. So we'll give them the choice. So we'll ask them choice label is equal to tk.label, and we'll say root. The text would say, what would you try to guess, or what would you like to try your luck at? And we can do choice label place, and it will be a little lower. And we would want this to be at the center because it's a long string, so let's not have anything else next to it. So it'll be x equal to 200, y, we would place it a little lower, so we'll do 120, anchor equal to center. Okay, let's take a quick look at what that looks like. Okay, so now what we'll do is if we ask them to type number or color, and then we try to render that on our side, they probably might make spelling errors, or they might capitalize one letter and not the rest, or it might be all caps. So let's use radio buttons. So we'll also get to see what the radio button would look like. So we'll say button 1 pk dot radio button. So only R is capitalized, and again this has to be placed in the root. It has text, and the text would be number, and then it has, so before this we do need to add one element, and that's a variable. So we'll say choice, and it's in tk.int var. So this is another tk integer variable, and you can control it in your radio buttons. So we'll say variable equal to choice, which is basically this one. That's a variable, and the value equal to, let's just put it as 1. And then button 1 dot place, we'll put it around the left, but the center of the left column. So we'll do the center of 100. So and y would be equal to 150-ish, anchor, center. Okay, I hope this is all right so far. So we have a Tkinter integer variable called choice, and these radio buttons can be set, the value of it can be set in this variable, and it's basically an integer. So, but it's just so that it's connected to these buttons. We'll create a similar one for color, so you can just copy that ahead and paste it below. So button 2, make sure you've got that changed, and we'll call this color, and the variable would be choice, but the value this time would be 2, and this time we want it at 300, so that this one centered around 100, this one centered around 300 on our screen. So let's take a look at that. There we go. We can select one of them. They're both connected to each other. We can also have our name. We can choose number, and then we can put an entry box right below this and ask them to input their guess. So I'll give you 1 second to catch up if you're behind, and we'll add the last portion of it before we get to play it ourselves. Okay, so I hope you guys are caught up. We'll do the last portion of it. So, okay, people are with me so far. Awesome. So this is the fun part. So what we'll do is we'll ask them to give us their guess based on what they chose. So we'll not do any of the validation and checking part of it. We'll just trust that if the person clicks on number, he will give us a number. So we'll do a label for our guess entry. So we'll say guess label, tk.label root text equals to, we'll say enter your guess here. Okay, and we'll add it to our window, guess label dot place, and we'll do for now, let's just say we're putting it at 200, and y would be a little lower than the choice, the radio button. So we'll do around 200 for this too. We'll do anchor equal to center. Okay, we have that label in place. And then we just have to create our entry. So we'll call it guess. And we'll say tk.entry. Well, we have to have it on the root, and that's it for that. And then we just have to place it somewhere next to the label. So we'll say guess.place. Let's place it around 300 maybe. Maybe that's too far, but let's see, x equal to 300, y equal to 200. It has to be the same as its label. Anchor equal to center. Okay, so we added the guess label and then its entry box. Okay, so it's all over the place. So let's try to move the label over to the left a little bit, but I think the entry box looks fine. So that's the best part. You can do what you have full control of what you have on the screen. So we'll have x maybe 250. Let's see if this would work. I have a feeling it would just overlap again, but let's hope it looks okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to move that. So let's put this at 120, and we'll put this. I think it can stay there. Let's see. Huh, it looks good, and it looks like it's in line with the top one too. Okay, I think we'll go with this, and the person will just have to type in the number here, 1, 2, or if they choose color, hopefully we can trust them. So we'll say coral, I guess. So if we're just gonna type it, it's still gonna have to do something, right? And if we want the widgets and the interface to do stuff, we have to do it through functions, and we can control that through buttons. So we're gonna have to put a tiny button that says, okay, let's go. I want you to check if my guess was correct. So let's just make a go button, and we'll call it, okay, we'll just call it go button, and we'll do tk.button. And so we place it on the root. We have some text for it, and we'll just say, let's go. Let's go. All right, and then we'll do go button dot place. And we'll place it below everything, maybe to the center a bit. So we'll do x is equal to 200 because our screen, oh, I put a. So x is equal to 200 because our Windows width was 200. So let's have it at the perfect center. Y equal to 250 should be fine. Anchor equal to center. And all right. So we have a button in place. Let's just make sure that it's placed in a nice location. Awesome. So as of now, it's not doing anything because we didn't attach it to any function. So let's do that as well. So we'll just put the function command equal to, and we'll name it check guess. Okay, so I hope you guys are with me so far. We added another button that says let's go. Okay, not another, just okay, yeah, another button. And we're adding a function to it. So let's go to the top and add it. So def check guess. Okay, so when the person guesses, like I said, we had a dictionary that maps numbers to their functions, right? I mean to our local numbers and our colors to our local colors. So let's quickly create that. So we'll say we used to call it random items, and that would be a dictionary. Oops. Okay, so it's a dictionary, and we'll say numbers. And we'll also have colors. Okay, so you guys can go wild with this. You can put whichever numbers you want. We'll have 22, we'll have 35, we'll have 100 and 1003. Okay, we'll have 14, 25. What's today's date? The 2nd of October in 2021. 88. What else? Let's have 0. No, 0 is too easy to guess. Let's have 74. I think that's enough. Okay, and then for colors, let's do that again. So let's add a couple of colors, and let's not make it too easy. So let's do yellow. Let's do eggplant. Last time Stephanie was here, she suggested turquoise. Let's do that. Let's add orange. Any favorite colors here? Karen, what's your favorite color? Indigo.
Magenta maybe.
Yeah, we can add magenta. Black would be too easy, so let's not add black. We could add olive. Teal, awesome. We can add teal as well. Because I'm a bit biased, I'm gonna add my favorite color. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, is that a color? Ecru. Huh. Okay. I've never heard of that. But we'll add it in because it's hard to guess and will not make our game easy. Okay, so we've done this. And we have our dictionary. Same as eggshell. Oh, that's pretty cool. So we have our random items dictionary over here. So we'll map numbers to its numbers. We'll have colors, and we'll have some colors over here. So what we would do now is we'll get the user's name because they entered it. So user name is equal to, and the entries was name entry. So we have to do name entry dot get. And then we'll take their guess. So user guess is equal to, and the name of that was guess. So we'll do guess dot get. And this time we're inside this function, but everything outside is global. So we won't have any problem with that. Only the other way around would be a problem. Okay. And for now, let's just print it. Let's see if it's working. So we'll do user name. And we'll do print user guess. Okay. And let's see if this is working. Let's see if it's ticking. What? Okay. If anyone else made the mistake of not putting a comma in between, I'm sorry. So after this item, you have to put the comma for the next. All right, so let's run this. Let's add our name. And let's put number in, and let's do 100. Let's go. And as you can see, it's printed in the console, or the interpreter in this case. So, okay, we're able to retrieve the inputs from the users. Let's close it for now. We can comment this out. And if we ever have to debug the code, we can uncomment it later on. And we'll just do a couple of if statements. So we'll do if, so now what we have to do is this, if they chose one, if they chose number, then we'll verify it with numbers. And if they chose colors, we'll verify it with colors. And the button's value was saved in choice. So what we have to do is if choice dot get is equal to 1. So that means it would be a number. So then what we would do is, well, it's a number. So we'll do user guess is equal to user is equal to int, right? We'll cast it to int. So user guess, because it would be a string otherwise. And we save these as integers. So if the user guesses correctly, so if user guess is in random items of numbers. So if this is true, we want to do something. Otherwise, we want to do something else. For now, let's just set things up. So let's just copy this. Okay, we don't have to copy the entire thing, but we could just do a quick else, because if it's not 1, it's 2, right? Let's do an else. And then let's just copy this for a second, just to save some time. And in this case, what we would do is, suppose the user is really good at being neat and clean, and they actually capitalize the first letter. They still did get the answer right. So what we'll do is we'll just change everything to lowercase. And because we saved everything in our dictionary in lowercase, it should be fine. If you didn't, that's okay. But if you saved everything, you could just quickly change it to lowercase. But we have everything in lowercase here too. And if it's in random items.colors. So if we have user guess in random items.colors, we'll do something else, we'll do something else. All right, so we've got it till this point now. Now, let me just show you something real quick. So I'm leaving this open so I can raise an error just to show you guys something. You can see that I got this pop-up window, right? Syntax error. And we have this cross and everything. This is all a message box. We can create our own with Tkinter. So what we'll do is we'll create a message box. If they guess the wrong answer, we'll put the error box and say, oops, you did the wrong, you didn't guess correctly. And if they did guess correctly, we'll put a different box. It'll be a show info box. Okay, so we'll go up to the numbers point. And for this, what we would use is a message box. Okay. And the thing is, I guess it's kind of heavy. So we can't do tk dot. We'll have to import it ourselves. So over here from Tkinter, import message box. Okay. You guys can also do this for label and entry. It's not compulsory, but when it comes to message box, you do have to separately import it, probably because it's a really heavy module or a method. So we'll do the show info, okay? Because it's not a scary pop-up window, and we'll say congratulations. Congratulations. And so this takes 2 strings, okay? It takes the name. So let me just bring that box again. So, okay, so you see save before run and check. This is the name of it, and this is the text in it. The first argument would be the name and the second argument would be the text. So congratulations, and we'll add the user's name. Congratulations plus username. And the next one would be the window basically, and that would say you guessed correctly. You guessed correctly. Okay, and after this, since they know they won the game, they don't have to be there anymore, right? We could just quit. Okay, we'll do root dot quit. That means our entire GUI would close. Else, let's just, okay, we don't have to copy that over. Else, what we would do is we'll put that error box so it looks a little scary. Dot show error. Error, show error. And the name would be we'll say sorry. Okay, let's just put oops. We'll do oops. And then we'll say sorry plus username. We have to have a space after sorry. Sorry plus username. You guessed incorrectly. Okay, and over here, let's not quit. Let's give them another chance to try the game again. We can copy this over into this function though. So we'll just copy that over there and the oops part into here. Okay, so let's move on over. I'll just keep the screen like this for a second so that you guys can catch up. And I'll just quickly run it so that you guys can see the whole thing, what it would look like. So, okay, let's put our name. We'll put a number and I'll guess 10. I guessed correctly. So that means, why didn't it quit? Okay, usually it's supposed to quit. I'm sorry, I don't know why that happened. But let's also try to do a wrong guess. So Soumya, we'll put color and we'll say blue. Let's go. And it said, sorry, Soumya, you guessed incorrectly. And the name of the box is oops. Let's try red. Congratulations, I guessed it correctly. And then it closes. So that's how it would work. And we should be closing soon. I hope you guys were able to run it along with me. If you haven't, it's okay. I'll share a quick link that can get you guys check it out. Let me just see if this link works. Okay, it works. Okay, so I have all the codes that we did today over here. And if you really, really want to try this and you're probably left behind somewhere in the middle or you weren't able to catch up, you can try it out on your own for a second using the code here. And I can share that in the chat real quick. And you guys can save that link and check it out right after the session. So I hope you guys had fun today. I hope it was kind of interesting. I love Tkinter, and if I can show you something. So if you have so much power with it. You can do a lot with Tkinter. For example, I created this one quiz application. Let's see, is it going to open? Okay, it'll work. So there's this quiz API that I used, and I created this one quiz application. So you can do this. You can create a bunch of fun stuff. So let's say I want to do a random category and a medium difficulty and say go. It chooses the category movies. If I want to change the choice, I have a bunch of other choices to choose from. I have easy, medium, hard. And then you can play the game. You can answer 10 questions. You can get your score. I didn't play so well. I can try another category and so on. So it holds so much power. And with Tkinter, it's like super fun. So once you get the hang of it, you can do a lot of stuff with it. It seems we don't have permission to access the collab. Okay. I will
Maybe
post
we can
it
post it on the stuff on the GitHub repo, so everyone can get it, and
yeah.
so like someone can access the edit the code later as well.
Yep. Karen, if you can, do share the Slack invite, and we can talk about this more over there. So if you guys want to check it out, we will post everything on the Women Who Code, the GitHub repo. We'll share the repo for, well, we can share you, if we share everything in the repository, there are a couple of references here. We have a couple of events coming up. So there's a LeetCode study group, and it's super, super awesome. It's coming up next Friday. Do register for that. We have our next session the next day. And we will be doing some image manipulations and having fun with those. So if you guys want to follow us and keep in touch with us, you can follow us on our LinkedIn. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can email us at python@womenwhocode.com. So thank you so much, everyone. We ran a little late today. It was a comparatively longer session, but I hope you really do like Tkinter and find it really fun. We also have a feedback form that we wanted to share with you guys. If you can scan this code on screen, or we'll share the code with you on the Slack channel. So if you've been attending our sessions for a while now, we would definitely like to hear what you guys have to say, or if you have any requests for future sessions, it would be really helpful. So I'll quickly see if I can share the screen for the feedback form on the chat as well. I hope you guys had fun with Tkinter. You don't have to become a pro to use it, because there's so many resources online. So you could just start off right off the bat. You could just open up a Tkinter window. You can play around with it. If you get stuck anywhere, you can, well, if you're stuck anywhere, you can always search online and add the element to your thing. So you don't have to postpone it, Tkinter, by wanting to be more prepared. So you can start off like, tonight, you can start off tomorrow. You don't have to be worried or anything. It's pretty fun. It's one of my favorite libraries out there. I shared the form for the feedback in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.